Xiao meets lawmakers and members of the city's legal sector. Disbursement of the first installment of the latest consumption voucher round. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. Director of Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office Xiao today had lunch and met with lawmakers, making him the highest-ranking central government official to visit the city's legislature. He then met with members of the Hong Kong Bar Association and disciplinary forces in the afternoon. Xiao's motorcade, accompanied by vehicles carrying Chief Executive John Lee and Liaison Office Director Zheng Yanxiong, entered the LegCo complex at 10 o'clock this morning. Security was beefed up as lawmakers weren't even allowed to drive and park inside the building. A foreigner who brought with him a banner and a loudspeaker tried to petition the authorities outside the LegCo building. He was led to the nearby Tamer Park by police officers. Some 80 lawmakers attended the meeting with Xiao. According to sources, they were not allowed to take their phones into the half-hour closed-door meeting. LegCo President Andrew Leung said afterwards that lawmakers had had a good exchange of ideas with Xiao.
For the 26 years, no central government official been step foot, in LegCo. The last time was the liaison office. We showed them around in LegCo as well. From the gateway that was, on July 1st when the rioters, get into LegCo.
Sources say Xiao mainly talked about the relationship between executive and legislative branches of the government. He reportedly said that he hopes the chaos in LegCo will not happen again and stressed opposition and rejection are not equivalent to democracy. Xiao also reiterated that protests are not the only form of expression for members of the public, but their lawmakers should always listen to them.
Tik
Chi-yun, the only non-pro-establishment lawmaker, said he does not want to assume what Xiao meant. But Tik thinks there are inevitably diverse opinions in a civilized society. Tam Yu-chung, vice chairman of the Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macau Studies, spoke about Xiao's visit to Hong Kong on a TVB program. He said it's necessary for Xiao to spend almost a week's time in town in order to get an in-depth inspection, especially when the pandemic is over and the annual two-sessions gathering in Beijing has closed. When asked how much Xiao gets to understand Hong Kong when most of the people he met were pre-arranged, Tam said Xiao should talk to people who support one country, two systems. He added it would be meaningless for Xiao to speak to people who do not share the same language with him. In the afternoon, Xiao met representatives from the Hong Kong Bar Association for about 40 minutes. Chairman Victor Daw said, although Xiao's schedule was packed, he still met with members of judicial firms, the Law Society and the Bar Association, which is a clear indication that Hong Kong's judicial and legal sectors are of high importance to Beijing. Xiao later met with disciplinary forces in the government headquarters. He then attended a banquet seated with representatives from Chinese enterprises. The first installment of the latest consumption voucher round, worth $3,000, was disbursed today. While a restaurant operator said the vouchers will only help business a little, a cosmetic chain said business had improved a lot today. Veronica Lin reports.
It's time for another round of consumption vouchers. How will residents spend the money?
Probably on technology, on tech, and then on home stuff.
Our plans of using it in the past has been to always boost business, local business. That has been our policy, to really go and eat in local places and try to lift up local businesses.
Still, those who are collecting the vouchers via Octopus card may not be able to collect the $3,000 in full, as the transport subsidy is also disbursed today. In Lok Fu MTR station this morning, SNAP members were explaining to some residents how octopus cards have an upper limit of $3,000 so they can receive the whole voucher amount in full. Those who are receiving the consumption vouchers via platforms including Alipay, BOC Pay, and PayMe can collect the money directly from their accounts. After receiving the money, some chose to enjoy lunch at this Chinese tea house with their friends and family. This woman said she will order as many dim sums as she wants because it's money from the government. A tea house operator said this installment of vouchers is less than before and believes business will only go up by about 5%. He said customers will spend less as they have already spent money traveling during Easter or sweeping tombs during Qingming Festival. Still, sentiment is positive as this is first time the vouchers have been dispersed after the cap on diners per table was lifted. Meanwhile, a cosmetic chain supervisor said sales have gone up by 30% today alone. She said it's obvious there are more customers today and sales of makeup products and perfume look promising. Financial Secretary Paul Chan was in Shamshui-Bo today to promote the new round of consumption vouchers. A total of 6.4 million residents are eligible to receive the payment. He noted while the amount is less than the previous round, it could still bring a 0.6% stimulus to the economy. Veronica Lin, TVB News.
Overseas, Sudan's military has launched attacks on a paramilitary forces base near the capital, Khartoum, in an attempt to re-establish control over the country. This after clashes saw at least 56 civilians killed, along with combatants on a day of heavy violence. The military has ruled out any negotiations with its former partner-turned-rival, the Rapid Support Forces. Matthew Bray reports.
This is a statement by the Sudanese armed forces calling on citizens to stay indoors as it conducts operations against the Rapid Support Forces. The RSF Twitter account said it was in control of the General Command of the Armed Forces as well as divisional headquarters in Darfur and a number of other states. While it is far from clear who is in control of what or whom, the airport was a flashpoint with planes on fire. General Abdel Fattah Burhan, the leader of Sudan's military, told Al Jazeera the RSF had entered the airport and set fire to planes. The fighting that erupted is rooted in how the RSF, headed by a violent paramilitary called Mohammed Dagalo, should be integrated into the armed forces. Obviously, that isn't likely to happen now, given the scale of the fighting. The armed forces now refer to the RSF as a rebellious militia to be dismantled. But it's not all going the military's way. This is footage purporting to show RSF fighters with jets at the Merowe air base in the north of the country. The fighters claim to have defeated Egyptian troops as well as Sudanese soldiers. At another location in Darfur in the west of Sudan, RSF paramilitaries can be seen alongside World Food Programme helicopters. Gunfire was also evident in the Red Sea city of Port Sudan, where there had been no earlier reports of fighting. For now, chaotic scenes are likely to continue as the two former uneasy partners battle it out in densely populated neighbourhoods. Matthew Bray, TVB News.
Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, a day after escaping an apparent attack, has vowed to ensure the safety of a group of 7 dignitaries visiting his country. This beginning with tighter security for climate ministers gathering in Sapporo this weekend. During the meeting, the group of 7 set big new targets for solar power and offshore wind capacity, but stopped short of a pledge to phase out coal by 2030. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Bodyguards bundled Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to safety on Saturday after a man threw what appeared to be a smoke bomb at him during an election campaign stop at a fishing port in western Japan. According to Kyodo News Agency, the suspect in Saturday's incident, identified by police as 24-year-old Ryuji Kimura, was also carrying a knife when he was arrested. That's in addition to a possible second explosive device he dropped at the scene after bystanders and police tackled him. Authorities have so far not announced a motive for the apparent attack, in which media said one police officer was slightly injured. According to Japanese media outlets, the suspect has been charged with forcible obstruction of business. The bomb scare in Wakayama Prefecture was an eerie reminder of the assassination last July of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Abe was shot with a homemade gun while campaigning for a parliamentary election. Abe's killing shocked Japan, where gun crimes are exceedingly rare. Speaking to reporters following Saturday's incident, Kishida said Japan must not allow acts of violence that attack the foundation of democracy. He vowed to ensure the safety of a group of 7 dignitaries visiting his country this weekend and at a May summit in Hiroshima. The group's environment and energy ministers met in Sapporo in northern Japan over the weekend. During talks, the group of 7 set big new targets for solar power and offshore wind capacity. They agreed to speed up renewable energy development and move towards a quicker phase-out of fossil fuels. However, the ministers stopped short of endorsing a 2030 deadline for the phasing out of coal that Canada and some other members had pushed for. They also left the door open for continued investment in gas, saying that sector could help address potential energy shortfalls sparked in part by the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Meanwhile, G7 foreign ministers arrived in the Japanese resort town of Karuizawa on Sunday for a gathering. They are to discuss various global crises, including Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Daniel Roll, TVB News.
Growing questions in New Mexico after a call for help went horribly wrong. Body cam captured police showing up at the wrong house and then fatally shooting the homeowner. NBC News has the story. A warning, some of the video is disturbing.
Tonight, new body camera video capturing the fatal police shooting of a homeowner in New Mexico. The videos from April 5th show 3 Farmington officers responding to a domestic violence report around 11:30 p.m., identifying themselves as police 3 times.
Farmington Police.
But the department says officers went to the wrong address.
It might have been 4308.
Is it 43 or 53?
Or yeah, it might have been 5308.
52-year-old Robert Dotson opens his front door wearing a robe, investigators say pointing a gun at police.
Hands up!
All 3 officers fired their weapons.
I'm good. I'm good.
Dotson died at the scene.
One down at the doorway.
His wife is heard screaming inside.
Please don't.
Appearing to open the door when police say she begins firing.
Get her in cuffs!
Minutes later, she surrendered.
Where's the gun at? He dropped it and then she picked it up and pointed it at us.
Upstairs are 2 children heard on a 911 call released by the Farmington Police Department.
There were gunshots in the house and my dad is shot.
The police chief offered his condolences the next day.
Mr. Dotson was not the subject of the call that our officers were responding to. And this ending is just unbelievably tragic. I'm extremely sorry that we are in this position.
The department is not naming the 3 officers who are now on paid administrative leave.
It is a tragedy, no doubt.
Former police chief Carmen Best, who watched the video, says the shooting appears to be consistent with police training.
I would not expect my officer to have a gun pointed in their direction and not react.
A reaction stemming from a mistaken address now being investigated by state police. Shaquille Brewster, NBC News.
Families have marked the 10th anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing by laying wreaths and walking together near memorial sites. 3 people were killed and 260 injured when 2 pressure cooker bombs planted by 2 Muslim brothers of Chechen descent went off. On Saturday, the focus was on remembering the victims and survivors. At each memorial site, marked with 3 stone pillars, people stood with the families in silence. One of the perpetrators of the attack was killed in a gunfight with police. The other is still trying to evade the death penalty. The 127th running of the marathon takes place on Monday. Still to come on tonight's news. Leaked classified US documents reportedly say Taiwan is highly vulnerable to PLA attacks. A fire in a Dubai apartment building leaves at least 16 people dead. And training for the return of Chung Chao's bun scrambling competition. Welcome back to TVB News. According to leaked classified U.S. documents, superior air power will give the People's Liberation Army early control of the skies should Beijing launch an invasion of Taiwan. The Washington Post reported that additional secret Pentagon documents to the ones that recently appeared online say Taiwanese officials are unsure of their ability to accurately detect PLA missile launches, and the U.S. has doubts about Taiwan's readiness to prepare for a major Chinese assault. Nazvi Karim has more.
Led by its Air Force, Beijing launches an invasion of Taiwan. U.S. intelligence fails to anticipate the threat, partly because of the People's Liberation Army's use of civilian ships for military purposes. Taiwanese air defenses are unable to deal with the assault. Dominant control of the skies early in the war. According to the Washington Post, this scenario is what U.S. military officials believe may play out should China make good on its threat to take back Taiwan by force. It comes from dozens of highly classified documents leaked online, along with the Post's review of additional secret documents that had yet to be made public. Related to the Taiwan issue, paint a grimmer picture for Taipei than what Taiwanese probably expect. Apart from early aerial superiority for the PLA, Washington's commitment to aid its ally may be hampered by the speed at which battleships and military hardware can reach the Taiwan Strait. Experts told the Post that if China can take out U.S. bases in the Philippines, Washington would run out of options. In addition, China is likely to deploy space weaponry to disable U.S. satellites used for intelligence gathering. Beijing may also use satellites for long-range strikes on U.S. ships, submarines and jets across the Pacific. The Post quotes Taiwan's defense ministry in a statement as saying that it respects outside opinions about its military preparedness, but maintains the island is absolutely capable, determined and confident in defending itself against a force that is 14 times bigger and rapidly modernizing. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
At least 16 people have been killed and 9 injured after a fire swept through an apartment building in Dubai on Saturday. The blaze in the Al Murrah area of Dubai's historic Deira neighborhood struck a 5-story apartment believed to have been shared by multiple individuals. A man working nearby at the time of the blaze put the start of the fire at just after midday. He said there had been an explosion followed by thick black smoke. Local media said the fire had been put out. A statement issued by the Dubai Civil Defense described the fire as starting on the 4th floor of the building. The statement said preliminary investigations showed that lack of compliance with building security and safety requirements caused the blaze. Dubai in recent years has faced a spate of high-rise fires sparked by flammable siding material amid soaring summer temperatures. Back in Hong Kong, police arrested 3 men and 1 woman for allegedly using false identification to perform real name registration online for stored value SIM card. Officers intercepted around 65,000 SIM cards in the bust. Police say the suspect bought numerous SIM cards on various telecom websites using fake identification. This so they could receive one-time authorization codes and assist a scam syndicate in registering for social media accounts. The suspects had registered over 7,000 SIM cards, each making a profit of around $10 to $20. Police believe at least 3 online fraud cases are related to this syndicate, with a combined loss of $16,000. 3 local men and 1 Indonesian woman were arrested on suspicion of using forged documents and obtaining property by deception. Xiao's renowned Bun Festival returns on May the 26th after a 3-year hiatus. Participants underwent training today. The training took place at Xiao's Pak Tai Temple, playground and football field. Participants performed climbing exercises and underwent safety training. On April 30th, a selection process will take place in which the 12 fastest candidates will be selected to compete in the finals. This year's Bun Festival attracted 241 candidates, a record comprising 155 males and 86 females. The oldest is 73 and the youngest 19. And that's the news. Thanks for joining us.